So now we're going to do a series of lessons on the various theorists in sociology and what they feel about families, starting with functionalists and families. So, first off, we're going to look at the work of George Murdoch here. He's a functionalist and an anthropologist, studied families all over the world, and decided there were several universal things about families that made it work. And the functionalists are always on about value consensus leading to social stability, about the mechanical or the biological analogy. Everything's got to work in its own way to make everything work properly. And functionalist Murdoch said, like, the family does this. It gives people the opportunity to have sex in a safe and controlled way. It allows for kids to be reproduced. It allows for those children to be socialised properly. And it allows for the economic needs of people in the family to be met. That's why all cultures have some sort of nuclear family, something like it. According to Murdoch, it's a universal. Now, Talcott Parsons has did quite a lot of work on families. He's the main man in functionalism. And his first bit of work on this was talking about this. He said, look, the nuclear family, the traditional nuclear family, is the ideal one in the modern culture because it allows geographic mobility. They're small families, mum, dad, kids. So if work moves, if the factory moves, if the company moves, that small unit can move with it. If it's a large extended family, you can't move. Whereas the nuclear family, being small, can move. If the factory closes in London and reopens in Birmingham, you can move. Yeah. He also said that the nuclear family supplies a strong conjugal bond. He called it the warm bath analogy. Work's tough, life's tough. You get home from work, it's like returning to the family home is like getting into a warm bath. It feels nice, it helps you. It socialises children, and he called it the stabilisation of adult personalities. It stops people acting crazy, it stops people doing stupid things because they can get sexual gratification at home. It stabilises them as adults. So for all those reasons, he said the nuclear family is the right sort of family. Right. Clearly, feminists in particular do not think this is a very good theory. They're like, yes, it's all what you're saying is right for men. It's a very patriarchal system. This is all great for men, this warm bath business. But you're overlooking the negative sides of the family, domestic violence, that sort of thing, and the fact that it's all just very patriarchal. Women exist to be servants to men. Parsons wasn't finished. He wrote another book, and he talked about the privatised nuclear family, how the families become much more private. It's no longer everyone's business in the wider family what everyone does. It's private. He called it the privatised nuclear family. And he said it was linked in the modern world to the loss of function of families. In the past, families did all these things. You worked with them, they were your health service, they taught you things, they policed you, they protected you. Police is a verb. And Parsons has said in the modern world, the family still does these things, but less so than they used to. You don't work with your family. We have doctors. You go to school. There is a police force. There is an army. Family still does these functions, but less so. They've lost some of their function and therefore become smaller and nuclear. And then most recently in Britain, we had Wilmot and Young and their symmetrical family theory, which we've done before. Their argument is, as both adults work, they've got paid work, they end up sharing their domestic duties. They have to do that to a functionalist to keep the consensus going. If the man works and the woman works and the woman still does the domestic duties, that will cause the machine to break down. There won't be consensus. So that's why to Wilmot and Young, families have become symmetrical.